Being married to an entrepreneur is not a supporting role. It's a commitment, right? It's a commitment to somebody else's timeline, somebody else's vision, somebody else's goals. And those who tolerate it, they're kind of successful. It's the ones that are bought in to the mission, the mindset, and the movement that will have the most success, right? Because the mission becomes one with two people operating at high speed.
Welcome back to In Good Space. I am Alisa Sparks, founder and CEO of Linden Creek, and I have with me my husband, Mr. Alan Sparks, who is our COO. But today's conversation is going to be a little different. We're going to kind of flip the mic over for Alan to share because this is a story only he can tell today. What I want to deep dive into is real life. What is it like to be married to an entrepreneur?
You ready to do this?
Let's do it.
Okay. Let's have a day.
All right, I'm going to kick off with a starter question.
Okay.
When you married me and you really started to actually see what was happening behind the scenes.
Speed.
I was going to say, what surprised you? What surprised you the most that you didn't maybe see coming early on?
I said it fast because that's how we operate. No, it was your speed. It was the speed with which you made decisions, the way you worked, the way you delivered, the way you communicated. I thought I had a decent work ethic, worked hard my whole life and so forth. And then I met you, and that's just a different level. It's a different clip. So I think that was probably the biggest surprise for me was your speed.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment. I definitely don't do things slow. I mean, even our dating relationship was like that. I was like, you should know if you're going to marry somebody in 9 months. And if not, like, why are you wasting your time? Everything that I do is fast. I think sometimes from an entrepreneur perspective, one thing you learn really quickly is you get rewarded for speed. Like the quicker you are at making decisions, oftentimes the more successful you are. And that's, what you hear in all the business books and from, the experts and the veterans in the industry. And so it's one of those things where I've just obsessed over like speed of decision making, speed of execution. And it was like, hey, I move fast. And you're like, hey, cool. And then, yes. And that's where we are today. But you're getting faster too. Like your speed is executing in a quicker way. I heard you the other day and be like, this is moving slower than I want. And I was like, he's never said that before. Like we're making really good headway over here.
I can be trained.
That's right. Okay. So when your wife is building something kind of to this size and scale, what's the hardest part that like no one actually talks about?
I think the future, because I think to narrow that down a little bit, maybe it's a preconceived notion, an idea. Like we got married, what life looked like then doesn't look like what it looks like today, right? And so, I find peace and stability in certainty in a process. We're going to start at A and we're going to end up at Z. And so if we zigzag, like I'm like, wait, what? We're getting off track here a little bit, right? But I think the biggest thing I've learned about you as the business has grown, as the business has scaled, there's different demands that show up that nobody could have anticipated. And so it's having the grace for that, the flexibility with that, because we're both mission focused. That's what I always have to come back to as your spouse more than your COO. As your spouse is, this thing is going in one direction, and how we get there may not look the same as it did yesterday, but we always have to stay focused on that mission, right? And so that's got to be my relentless focus.
Any advice for others out there that are in that same season where like their spouse is like heavy hitting in that and they're struggling with the like, this doesn't look the way we talked about. This is a pivot. This is a shift. Like, how do you fill that grace bucket for yourself and stay sane when you're dealing with somebody like me, right?
Yeah. Well, you give yourself grace for one. I'm not as fast as you. I know what your strengths are. I know what mine are. My job is to keep up the best I can. But I think in this role, it's also to provide perspective that maybe you can't see because you're moving so quickly sometimes. Mm-hmm. But any advice I would give to somebody, I think it just centers around that word. I think it's grace. Give your spouse grace that's moving at 900 miles an hour. They have a purpose. They have a calling. They have a mission, right? Get behind them best you possibly can. Be the wind at their sail. Don't be in front of them, obstructing them. Get behind them. That's my biggest piece of advice.
Love design, but think like a business owner? If you're ready to leave your 9 to 5 and want to do something that's buildable and scalable, check out linden-creek.com/franchise and see if Linden Creek is the right fit for you. What do you admire most about watching me build this?
That's a great question to ask. Your bold, relentless pursuit of excellence, I think. You don't settle for good enough. You never have. You really don't in any area of your life, but particularly professionally. Sometimes I get caught in the tension of that, like it's never good enough. Whereas you're always thinking it could be better.
Mm-hmm.
So one would surmise that this is exactly what that means. But I think when I look at it through the lens of like, again, the mission, right? How can we fine tune this thing to make it better for our franchise owners? How can we make it better for the customers that we serve? How can we make it better for our staff and our team that work alongside of us on the day to day? I have to understand that, right? And so, but I've always admired the fact that you're just bold in your thinking. You don't think small. You never have. And I think that excites a lot of people. I think whether they handle it or not is up to them. But I think people can initially be excited about a bold vision, about a big vision, and you certainly provide that on the day to day.
Well, and I will like transparently say this, I think sometimes it can be fun to like come under a leader that has a big, bold vision. You're like, we're going to do this amazing thing. Like sometimes they think about if you worked for Elon Musk with Tesla or SpaceX,
Right.
it's like you get to be part of something that is, earth shattering. What we're doing is not the same level of earth shattering by any stretch of the imagination, but like how cool to come and get excited about a vision. But there's a difference between that and like having to be married to the person with the bold vision, right? Like
Mhm.
you have a really tough job in the respect of like the balance between, yes, like part of this organization and getting excited about the vision too, but like seeing the very authentic version of me that is tired sometimes, or that feels frustrated in moments because we're not going fast enough, because we're not pushing hard enough, because,
Sure.
whatever it may be. And you are kind of in a position of like, yes, I have a job to do, but also I have to be the supporting husband. And so to like navigate both of those and to be okay being in that position in that role, that is not for the faint of heart. And it's not something I take for granted because it is a hard position to be in, harder than mine by a long shot.
Speaking as your spouse for a second, I always remind myself that don't mishear what I'm saying, but it's like I didn't sign up for this
Mhm.
necessarily. I didn't know what this was.
Mhm.
We couldn't see into the future, and we still can't see what 3, 4, 5 years looks like. But I signed up for you, right? And whatever that means, again, that's the mission, right? It's unequivocally, unabashed, 100% pursuit on what you're going after, right? Because again, this predated me. This is not like something that we formulated together and what have you, but this is a part of who you are. You are Linden Creek. Linden Creek is Alisa. They're so intertwined. And so when I can push both of those up a hill and help make them better, that helps me get my fulfillment, right? And that complements your bold vision.
Okay, I have to ask this one.
Okay.
What do you wish I knew about what it's like to be on this side of it?
I think I just alluded to it. It's exhausting, if I could be honest. It is very exhausting. You are a world-class sprinter professionally. You run that sub 4 minute mile, man. You can get out there, you can make it happen faster than anything I've ever witnessed in my life, and very few that I've heard about. The rest of us, dude, I run an 8 minute mile. It's pretty okay for my age, right? So like, but like you're so far ahead that I'm like, I'm panting. But what I also have to remember is I'm pulling a team with me
Mm-hmm.
that also runs at that clip, and I'm trying to bridge the gap between how far ahead you are and where we are as far as implementing the million ideas that you throw away. But I want you to hear me loud and clear. Like you have my undivided sole attention when it comes to pursuing your vision and your dream. Whatever that is, like you've got it, right? So I will run faster. I will run harder. I will work more ferociously and I'll rally everybody to do the same. Like that's just part of it, So give us grace because we're trying. We really are the best we possibly can. Again, God gifted you with a brain that none of us have. And I think we acknowledge that. That's why you're the leader. That's why you're the visionary. And we will do our best to continue to execute and implement that. That's for sure.
So, if you were talking with a friend, somebody that's about to go all in on business,
Right.
and is ready to kind of like make that massive jump, what honest advice would you give them?
That's a great question. I would say sacrifice is real. It's a thing. the putting aside of one's goals, ambitions, and dreams selfishly for the betterment of somebody else. And that could be a friendship, that could be a spousal relationship, it could be for your kids. Just understanding that in that moment, there's something more important than your own personal ambitions. I think that that's true. Even from you know, um, wanting to do certain trips or spend money on certain things or what have you. Like in this season of our life, like we're heavily invested in the
Mhm.
success of Linden Creek. Um, we joke with our kids, we're broke, because Linden Creek is constantly getting reinvested into
Mhm.
so it could be the best version of itself. And I think selfishly, some people could look at that and they could be, but I want this. And again, it's coming together and understanding the mission. We are one mission, we are one mind, um, and moving towards that future. So sacrifice is a real thing.
Well, and I think, like it's important to look at that on both sides. Like understanding, yes, that's part of it, but understanding as the business owner, like you have to have that conversation with your spouse
Yes.
beforehand
Yes.
because they have to be bought into it. Because if you're going to be making sacrifices, if you're going to be investing more time, investing more money, what have you, like if you don't have their full support and buy in through this, it's never going to be successful.
True. So let me leave you with a closing thought, my friends. Um, Two people with one mission is a force, right? The minute it becomes ours, not yours, the minute you start working together, you just double the efforts, right? You get there twice as fast. What's the old saying we've all heard? If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. I think that's very true, particularly in this context, right? So if you're in a situation like this, certainly challenge you, right? Align with your spouse, figure out what the expectations are, sacrifice, defer gratification, all of those different things. Because again, if you're pushing in the right direction, you're going to go places you never thought you'd be able to get to alone.
Sacrifice is real. But I think what's important to highlight is so is the transformation on the other side of it. So it is a journey worth making. If you are in a supporting role of a crazy entrepreneur, I hope this provides some transparency and some encouragement. And the flip side is this, like if you are the entrepreneur that has a supporting force behind you, I hope this also kind of opens the door. I know for me, sometimes you're so busy looking 7 steps ahead, you pause and forget just the number of decisions that are being made by that supporting member to make all of that happen. So it's a valuable conversation to have over and over again. If this was helpful, subscribe. We want to continue more transparent conversations with each of you. And until next time, this is In Good Space.